over a period of time, you can see that what are the time scale, geological time scale it is happening. And over a period of time, this Pangaea is, changing into, or dividing into Laurasia as well as the Gondwana, where we are in the Gondwana point. Okay. And then the last phase of the continental drift, what happens is that's something around 35 million years ago. And it collide with that, the Gondwana is separating, and then India is getting separated, Madagascar is getting separated, Australia, Antarctica, everything getting separated, and the India is basically colliding with the Eurasian landmass, and here it is getting attached. So the whole, the continent India, or the country India, or the peninsular India is getting attached with a Eurasian landmass, and they are the first part of the historical, documentation of flora starts with. So while this movement is happening, is not the land alone going. So you have the entire spectrum of flora. It's not flora alone, fauna as well, but I just pick up only the flora. So the whole gamut of flora is also going along with the geographic landmass, or the continental, the Indian continent, subcontinent, and it is moving and joining with the Eurasian landmass. So when it is joining, what happens that is that almost in the Paleogene time, after Paleogene, it's a Neogene, between later part of the Paleogene period, around 35 million years, which I already mentioned. So it has got a lower group of plants. That is almost all the non-flowering plants are there. Okay, including Ginkgo biloba, which is one of the living fossil, and Cyathea and other thing, and also with the angiosperm. So what the first documentation of your historic part of the flora starts with the movement of this big landmass called the peninsula, the Indian subcontinent, and that is joining the Eurasia. There it starts with the first stage of the floral movement, or to the current landmass position. Then, during the process of this movement, what happened is that there's a big catastrophic event which is happening to the Deccan Traps cataclysm. So what happened is that when it is joining with the Eurasian landmass, at the point of contact, or at the reunion point, the plate of the tectonic movement of the plate, which has, weakened, and it got collided, and there the mantle and got opened up, and the lava flow happened. So this process, which he has created into the Deccan Trap, which is almost something area of our Spain, that's around 500,000 square kilometer area of lava flow happened, and the entire area, the Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh area, and the peninsula, some part up to almost Mysore. Okay, very near to the Mysore area, the lava flow happened, and everything got destroyed. Only a small part in the peninsular tip which got served. So the second event, that is with this Deccan Trap, the lava flow and the Deccan Trap, the vegetation or the species which was carried by the landmass in the beginning during the Gondwana movement has got survived only at the tip of it, which is actually shared by two states largely, that is Kerala and Tamil Nadu. And some part of the Karnataka as well, southern part of Karnataka as well got a little bit of it. Okay, so otherwise, the rest of the whole, bag water bottle. Sorry. So this Deccan trap, which was, very massive and a very major catastrophic event which happened in the process of evolution or in the process of a landmass, evolution. And then the whole, the biota which was carried, during the movement, during the, continental drift has got destroyed except part of the Tamil Nadu as well as the Kerala. So that's the one which is we are having the most antique, I mean, uh, group of plants as well as animals, whichever has associated during that time. So those, biota was, conserved at the peninsular tip, and that is one of our major riches of floral wealth that we are having. So you can see here better. Let's see, the lava flow was something like this, and the entire, Kerala and the part of major part of the Tamil Nadu got saved and from the lava flow, and this has been saved for the posterity, and the rest of the thing has been completely, taken away by the lava flow. So that's what basically the second major event which had happened during the, evolution of flora of this region. So this, what had happened is, see, that's what the massive destruction of ancient biota happened, and only the refugee was there only in the southern part of the Western Ghats or southern part of the, peninsular India. So that's, the second major, physical geographical event which happened. And then, as the Indian subcontinent joined with Eurasia, or we all knew that the Himalaya got raised up, and the weather of the whole India got changed afterwards because the monsoon wind and everything got affected by that. And along with that one, the connectivity got established through the, Southeast Asian region as well. So through the Assam and other region, it has got a gateway through Rajmahal as well as the Garo Hill Gap. And through that, there was a connectivity established through the Chota Nagpur plateau as well as the Vindhya as well as Odisha and other regions, and Vindhya Satpura and other ranges also got connected with that one. So that is slowly getting connected with the peninsular region. So there are two kinds of, one is the Himalayan region. Once it is, connected with collided with the Eurasia or the Asian part, it connected with the Himalayan region, and the Himalaya itself has got elevated. Along with that one, there are a lot of it got connected with this peninsula tip has got a connectivity with the temperate region, and then also in the in the eastern Southeast Asian region, that Indo-Malayan, biota also got connected with through the Rajmahal Garo gap. So these two connectivity. So apart from the initial carrying of biota, so these two connectivity also contributed into the, flora of the, or the plant wealth of the Western Ghats, that's basically, especially the southern part of the Western Ghat. So the southern part has got quite a lot of contribution over millions of years. Okay, it's not happening in a, immediately, or it's not happening over a period of, just a click of a time, but it has happened over a period of time, and that has brought the very complex vegetation into the southern Western Ghats or the southern part of the Western Ghats. Because the northern part of the Western Ghat was completely affected by the Deccan trap, so it lost almost all the traces of the Gondwana or the continental drift. So the Himalayan gateway, that's a migration of temperate taxa, as well as from the Assam gateway, it is the basically the tropical dipterocarps and other things. So we knew that. It's if you look at the dipterocarp distribution in the peninsular region, we can see that even in our coastal area, we have the species like Hopia and other things, dipterocarp species you can see. Moreover, even in most of the old sacred groves, if you have any sacred grove which is very intact, you could see quite a lot of Hopia species present in that. Hopia individual, species will be utilis or one or two species only, but there are good growth of Hopia in the, the coastal belt sacred group as well. So this has migrated from the Southeast Asian region, largely the Dipterocarp family. And initially, it was thought that the Dipterocarpus came from the Gondwana belt, but then later on, the molecular phylogenetic studies and other thing which has proved that the major migration of the Dipterocarpus is from the Southeast Asian region. So that's the latest study which is indicated by various phylogenetic studies, molecular phylogenetic studies. So that is, bringing up, a lot of, complexity into the flora of the southern Western Ghats or the Western Ghat region. So basically, this is happening in the next phase of it, that is in the Miocene, period, Miocene epoch of the Cenozoic era. Okay, so that's a period that this kind of, migration and stabilization of the species is happening. So this is, two major, events. So that is the first is the Gondwana movement, and second is the Deccan trap and the transfer of species both from the temperate Himalayan, that is the Chinese as well as Sino-Indian, we do call, okay, from the Chinese area as well as from the Southeast Asian region that has moved into the peninsular part of the country. So the peninsular, flora has got the large influence of these three regions now. One is the original Gondwana, and other is the temperate Himalayan, and other is the tropical, Southeast Asian Indo-Malayan region. Larger. So this is again, the Miocene is a very, complex, period as far as the evolution of the flora is concerned, because quite a lot of, activities have happened during the Miocene period. So the species which has come from the Gondwana region got, stabilized over a period of time. And then there are some of the drifting of the species happen, that is the isolation of species happened as part of the, events and other things. And then refugium, or some species has become a refugia as a result of the climate and other kind of events, because there is the glaciation and other climate change which was happening in between later on. Okay, as the species has been brought into, many species has become very narrowly distributed, and the endemism has happened, and then it ends up in a huge, complexity of flora into the southern Western Ghats or in the peninsula part of it. So all this, incident happened during the Miocene period. So that's a major event as far as the after the, continental drift. That's a major, event period. That's a Miocene which brought out the copy of the current vegetation, or current, sorry, not the current vegetation, the vegetation of the, I mean, peninsular India into a very complex nature. So there is, quite a lot of, species migration. It's not another thing that we need to also remember here is not the movement of the species is not one way; it is two way. Largely, the balsams and other thing from the Chinese region. There is a lot of exchange of the species towards, Chinese region as well. Okay, so quite a lot of highway or canal has been, or channel has been opened up for the movement of the species, and that has enriched with quite a lot of species, and converting some of them into a very narrow endemic and very relict species. Another major, set of events which happened into the vegetation or the flora is, okay, there are, this Miocene, the whole events in the Miocene has created, some of the generalized species, which, which is very having very huge plasticity of the habitat. Okay, so niche plasticity, it has been widely distributed. So the wide distribution of the species happen in the, Western Ghats, especially in the mid elevation and other area, because that's an area where, resources are plentiful available. So the wide, amplitude species with the wide ecological amplitude has been brought, spread across the, medium elevation of the Sahyadri, that's the Western Ghats. And along with that, there is another, opposite direction movement where the species are very focused niche species has been localized and the endemism also slowly increased. As we all knew now that the Western Ghats has got almost 30% of the species which is endemic, and many of these endemism has been evolved during the Miocene period. That is the major, event which happened in the historical geological time period to the flora of the Western Ghats. So that's what happened. So the Kerala flora has become a living archive of Miocene complexity and differentiated introduced lineages. So the lineages are from largely from the Gondwana and from the Indo-Malayan and from the Chinese or the Sino-Indian region or the Himalayan region or the temperate region. And this has been worked out into a living, a major, contribution or major repository of the species into the Western Ghats region or in the peninsula region of the Western Ghats or in the southern Western Ghats. So the whole, speciation as well as the endemism has increased to a multiple level or into a manifold level due to this process which had happened during the Miocene biotic exchange period. Yeah, some of the just example for the Gondwana elements, from different area. So Gondwana element, I just to tell you that from South American we had the Sapotesi family, Manilkara, Mimosops, and the Madagascar and Africa we have the Loresi. Loresi is the one of the major family which has brought from the Gondwana, origin. Loresi, Euphorbiaceae, then Fabaceae. That is, these are some of the major family which has been we got it through the Gondwana movement, and then that enriched our flora. And then species from Sri Lanka, that Mimicillona and other thing. Australia and Antarctica, that's a Podocarpus. Then Malaysia and other islands, so that's largely the Dipterocarpus, and the African, Begonia as well as Indigofera and species like that. So we got, a contribution into the, both from the Gondwana land and from the other regions to enrich our, floral wealth of it. And Sino-Himalayan is largely, as I mentioned, that is a lot of study has been done. On the phylogeny of the Sino-Himalayan intrusions, and they have found many genus like of Erythema, that is നമ്മൾ കാട്ടുചേന എന്ന് പറയില്ലേ എരിസൈമ, അതുപോലെ ബിഗോണിയ ബിഗോണിയ ഒരു ഗാർഡൻ പ്ലാന്റ് കൂടിയാണ് കേട്ടോ. ബിഗോണിയ സെറോപീജിയ, അതുപോലെ തന്നെ ഇംപേഷ്യൻസ്, സ്ട്രോബിലാന്തസ്, ഇതൊക്കെ തന്നെ സൈനോ ഹിമാലയൻ ഇൻട്രൂഷൻസ് ആർ ദർ. ഓക്കെ, so there has been, I just put some of the common species, common genus with the Eastern Himalaya as well as the Western Ghats, which indicate, which is just show an example. Yeah. So, after looking at the entire flora of the, country, the various phytogeographers has divided, the country into different phytogeographic regions. And one unique thing that you can find that, all are having the Malabar or the Western Ghats without much, problem. Okay, so that is a uniform thing, which indicates that it also has got a unique, wealth of plant. Okay, that's why it has got, all are, very, agreeable on the phytogeographic zone, which is called Malabar, which is largely the Western Ghats region of peninsular India. And only Rogers and Pawar has put the Western Ghats, but others were using the name Malabar for indicating the our region of phytogeographic area. And if you look at the contribution of our flora, in Kerala's flora, and you can see that, it is largely of Indo-Malayan in origin, almost 40% you can see, you can say that it is Indo-Malayan, and around 30% is, which is Gondwana, this one. Gondwana is not completely Gondwana. It is the one which has been evolved and came from the Gondwana region and evolved, which is called the autochthonous species. Autochthonous species are the species which has interacted and then when they evolved over a period of time, and that has contributed our own indigenous flora. I mean, I would otherwise call the indigenous flora. So the around 30% of the flora is of indigenous, and actual, I mean, Gondwana relics still we have around 20%, and the Himalayan and temperate is something around 10%. So this is the overall, I mean, the composition. If you look at the biogeographic zone wise or origin wise, if you look at it, this is the way that the flora of our state has been, I mean, quantified or has been identified. Another stage which is coming is the Shola grassland formation or the sky island, which is the new term coined to the, I mean, Shola grassland formations. See, this sky island was something which is a formation which has evolved after a prompt, I mean, climate, the change over the climate, especially after the glaciation period. So the Pleistocene glaciation has made quite a lot of, I mean, transfer of species from the temperate as well as the other regions to the southern peninsular region. And when the post-glacial period, and many of the species could not survive, and the species which could survive, they climbed up and they find a resorting area which is somewhat temperate in nature, which Meroji called the tropical montane habitat or tropical montane forest, and that these peaks are the resorting area for the some of the species, and in between the peaks there are deep valleys which is not, I mean, conducive for many of the species. So the evolution of the, I mean, sky island or the Shola grassland complex has happened after the Pleistocene glaciation, post glaciation period, when the temperature starts increasing or the glacial retrieval happened or the retreat of the glacial, I mean, layer happened, and to for the survival of the, I mean, species who could actually, they moved up and they, I mean, settled on the top of it. That's basically the start of the, I mean, the formation of the Shola grassland complex. So there is a geographical isolation happened with the change in, I mean, this one niche specialization or the differentiation happened because it is the weather has been changed or the climate has been changed, and the geographical isolation happened, and the upward migration of the species happened, and they were there in the mountain peaks. So many of the mountain peaks are having the species which are of temperate, I mean, ancestors. I mean, like rhododendron. There are many species on plants. Rhododendron, Mahonia is there. Okay, then there is berberis is there. There are other such species, satyr and Nepalans, orchid is there. Then species of impatiens are there. Okay, there are many species. Such a species has reached to the this kind of a habitat, and that has resulted into the formation of the sky island. Sky island is a new term, though I am not very much comfortable with that. I mean, this definition of sky island. The only definition which they say that, I mean, why it is called sky island is that the species is not interacting with the lower region. But I don't know, I mean, any how far that concept is true in the context of sky island, because in any ecosystem it is like that there are certain species which may not be able to interact with the other habitat. So here also it may be the, but it's not, I mean, to what extent it is, I mean, anyway, since the term is accepted by journal and scientific forum, we are still, I mean, seeing it. Okay, we are still using it. So I just want to, I mean, say that one because it is the starting point of the new, I mean, term which is in the for the Western Ghat, I mean, the well-defined tropical montane forest by Meromji and other people. That was bioclimatically defined and well, I mean, documented as well as a long years of work. I mean, 60, 70 years of continuous work has been documented in that form, but which has been modified of late. Okay, so this, I mean, sky island formation. That is the Shola grass and has, I mean, evolved over a period of time with its own assemblage of species. And Shola grassland, as you all know, that it is a very unique kind of vegetation and with, I mean, stunted forest, and which is always found in the valley or in the, sheltered region of the mountains, and with the grasslands on the exposed, the slopes and other thing. So the forest area which is represented by stunted growth, and that will be in the, valley or in the, wind sheltered region, and which has got a higher moisture regime as well. But whereas the grassland is the upper region. And when they started calling it as the sky island, it is there are 20 countries or 20 locations are there where the sky islands are there. I mean, we know that it is in Sri Lanka it is there, we call it as Patnas, and in South Africa it is called, in African continent it is called Afro-Montane, and then in South America it is called a Paramo, and in the Southeast Asia it is called a Sky Island. So there are many other, area also. This habitat is Shola grassland formation is found. So the Shola grassland is also another, interesting, scenario or interesting platform or interesting laboratory where lot of speciation and other things happen because of the unique, the weather or unique climate and unique other micro environment which has supported the evolution of certain set of flora which is happened in that region. So that, basically it is, sholas are, yeah, okay, it's already, I mentioned already. Yeah. So these are the, distribution across the world. Where are the such, so you can see they're all in the tropical region. Okay. So it's not exactly on the temperate region. All these are in the tropical region only where the such as sky islands are there, which is being named by various countries. Yeah, and this, Shola grassland formation, which is very, unique in its, nature, it has got, by looking at the endemism of species, and we could see that, majority of the, endemic species are found in the mountain, sorry, majority of the species are found in the mountain zone as well as in the high peaks compared to mid elevation and the lowland. Lowlands are having very low number of endemic species because it has got the there is no unique habitat or a unique scenario for the species to survive. But at the same time, there are many species which look for the unique habitat or the niche is very narrow niche which has been moved into the high elevations of this area. So the Shola grassland is that way is very important, as we all know that. Okay, it is. Even in our, we had around thousands of square kilometer of Shola grassland, but now we hardly have anything around the 200 square kilometer. That's a stage now because then they are. Munnar and the the Anamale Hills as well as the neighboring plateau is Karinkulam and other plateaus are completely wiped out. So the extent of the Shola grassland is highly under risk even now. Yeah, then this Shola grassland, another important aspect which has been studied by the, phylogeny people. Just to look at the how the species it is favoring the speciation, allopatric speciation can happen in this area. See, Praveen, in the Institute of Science, Praveen, and studied by taking two butterfly species. One is red disc bush brown as well as the other one is the glad-eyed bush brown. What he did is he collected the samples from three high range areas, that is the Anamale, then Megamale, and the Agasthyamale region, high region, and then collected the genetic material on the samples as well as sample, and they looked at the genetic diversity. So when he, similarly he did for the other bush brown also, glad-eyed bush brown also. Why he selected this species? Because he said, the life history trait of the two species are almost similar except the habitat. That is, the one is a high elevation and the other one is a low elevation. Okay, so that's the only difference. Otherwise, all the other life history traits are the same thing. So that's how they selected this species. And then when they do the phylogenetic analysis, what they found is that this the red disc bush brown species among the population between the same species, three populations are there. So they go to three, genetic profiling of this population. They show higher difference, that is heterogeneity. So the same species in three mountains show higher heterogeneity when compared to the species which is contiguously, available for the habitat. So the genetic variability in the high ranges or genetic variability of species of different mountain peaks in the high ranges is an indication that it will, take you for further allopatric speciation. Because there is a gap between these two hill mountains, there's a deep valley, there is a disjunction, there is a disconnect between these two mountain peaks. So the chances for allopatric speciation is high in the case of species which are found in the, high altitude mountains. So that is what happened. That is what proved by Praveen and his student by taking these two species for the genetic study. And similar observation is also found by other people on the plants, that is Urea nitida, which is from the Assam as well as from the species from the northeastern Himalaya as well as from the western Ghats. So there also they found that Urea nitida shows the genetic variability. The sample which are collected from different, hillocks of the high altitude mountain itself shows larger, genetic variability compared to the species of the population or the sample which is collected in the lower region. So that is, an indication that Chola grassland formation or the skyland, whatever you call it as, that supports quite a good number of chances for new species to evolve in that habitat. That's one of the, wonderful, direction of why this, to say that this habitat is, important, or why the assemblage of species in such an area is very important. So that's how, the new, the scientific technology or the methods, which has been brought into the study of such a population genetics and population genetics as well as other kind of allied techniques, that is spatial technology as well as the population landscape genetics, basically, which is, bringing into the new knowledge for, the finding out or seeing more and more new species or endemics or range restricted species. So this is something, which is happening over a period of time. But at the same time, it is also, you could see that there are many species which has been described as new has become synonyms also in the recent past. Okay, so maybe the wrong usage of the techniques or the wrong usage of the tool could be one of the reasons why the species has within a year or within 2 years or 5 years time becoming a synonym as well. So that's another, flip side of the that technology which has been used. So this is something very positive as far as the importance of the Chola grassland ecosystem is concerned. So this could happen not only for the, the faunal species, it can equally happen into the case of plant species as well. Another, method which has been other than population genetics, which is looking into the paleontology studies. The fossil study, basically the fossil pollen grains. Paleontology, we refer to the, fossil pollen studies. Okay. So, all these, the different kind of landscape dynamics which has happened even without the introduction of human being into the landscape. So much before that, with the tectonic or with the geological, events or with the weather events or climate events or other stochastic events, many changes had happened. And definitely a large biota has been buried underneath, which if you would like to have to reconstruct the history of the vegetation, then one of the best method is that to look into the pollen grains. And there are quite a lot of studies which nowadays, I mean, as we know that earlier it was largely, French Institute was largely into the palynological study, like Tanegamani, then Vasanti, then so many, Merom James, then Blasco. So many science paleobotanists were there. But now Birbal Science Institute has come up very good in the very high in for doing the analysis on the pollen grains as well as the stratigraphy as well as the pollen grain study. So these two things, the stratigraphy as well as the palynological study, has brought a lot of information on the vegetation history of the peninsular India or the southern western Ghats as well. So I mean, a literature, I mean, which I had gone through, a review literature, they had gone through many, such studies and found out that all kinds of elements, the lower group to the angiosperms, okay, which is has been documented in the Varkale as well as the Kollam, formations. See, these are the two major formations which has spread up to Talisheri arc. Telichiri arc it is called. No? So there are two formations. One is the Konkan formation and other is the Varkala formation. So this is, up to the Telichiri arc, it is the Varkala arc. So when they did the stratigraphy as well as the palynological studies, they could find out the non-flowering plants to the mangrove species and also the high mountain species. So there is a big series of species. Of all the taxa, all the groups of species could be, documented with the support of the palynological studies as well as the stratigraphic studies, both to combined because a geologist and botanist. So that is the better combination for doing the palynological studies. So that's basically what happened. So that basically what it decides is the antiquity or the oldness of and the stability of the equilibrium of the solar glacial matrix. So this paleobotanical and paleontological researchers, as I already mentioned, that is been best way of answer many of the questions with respect to the floral, the reconstruction of floral history. So there are, various palynologists who have worked on the pollen grains, and especially in the peninsular India, the Kakatop area, as well as the Sandinella area, that is the Manavanur sheep breeding farm area, as well as the Nilagiri Kakatop. These are the two major area where they have dug out the coring has been done, and many these scientists, analyze the pollen grains which are, collected through this one, and then looked into the carbon dating and also OSL, that is the other geological material which can be used for now. Earlier it was largely the fossil as well as the carbon dating was done, but now they are doing the OSL also because that's basically the spar and quartz and other kind of material which is associated with the pollen grains, because we all knew that people who knows botany, they know that the pollen grains are having very thick coating, very thick, which is not disintegrating easily. That's the one which is they are using it. But sometimes you won't get that one, then they go for the sparks and other kind of the quartz and other thing which is associated with this pollen grains, which is subjected for OSL technology, and then they are dating the antiquity of the material. So such studies has been conducted over a period of time. Ever since people started looking at the history of the vegetation, and many other, scientists as well. Sukumar looked into the Nilgiri area, and he has proved the climate change or the weather. Changes after the Pleistocene post glaciation period, and he demonstrated that the vegetation was largely of the C3 and C4 with respect to the wet as well as the dry dry period of the climate. So, and equally they also, the antiquity was established with the presence of rhododendron, which is also from the Sino-Himalayan region or the temperate region. So they started the only one stratigraphy study which happened in Kerala is in the Kundala region. That is done by Faruqi, Anjana Faruqi, as well as Salman Khan, who has done coring in the Kundala region, that is in the high ranges, where they have done the core and they collected the pollen grains and other thing, and they found the change of wet and the dry weather over a period of time, and all the wet period were dominated by the shola species as well, and whereas the forest species, and whereas the dry periods were largely dominated by the grass and pollen. So when they looked at the temperature and other thing, that the temperature was during the so during the dry period, the temperature was above 20 degree mean, low temperature was above 20 degrees Celsius, and the wet period, the rainfall was something around 3,000 above millimeters. So this has been, correlated with the stratigraphic evidence they collected from the coring of Kundala, region, and they have come out with information saying that okay, there was quite a lot of climate variation happened in this region, and accordingly, the dominant flora of the region has been changed over a period of time. So that this is the only study I found which had happened in the Kerala part of the high ranges on the palynology. No other study I could, collect any other literature. And this also happened very recently. 2017, by Birbal Saini Institute. That's what I said. They are coming up very good with such kind of studies. So it's all happened in the last, glacial maximum. So this is what if you picturize graphically, if you represent what they got, it is something like this. Okay, something around 25,000 years. Before it was largely dry arid vegetation, and the land cover was largely of graminaceous or the herbaceous element, and slowly, and the warming phase, and in the 15th, slowly it has been changed over into the uh, the forest cover has been increased, and it has gone a maximum up to of the climate optimum stage. It has reached the maximum of the forest cover, and then again it is descending. We don't know whether it is a normal distribution curve. We normally say that okay, whether it is going normally or, but we don't have the, we have to see another millions of years, and then we know that what is going to happen, whether it is the distribution curve is normal or abnormal. Okay, but it is, see, it is indicating, it is giving an indication that there is a cycle which is happening over a period of time, and which is dry and wet, and that dry and wet has been compensated, or that has been contributing to the composition of the arboreal flora as well as the gramineous flora. So the wet period is largely dominating with the arboreal, and the dry period is with the gramineous flora. So what all these indicate is that the floral wealth is, you may not be seeing all the species now because many of them is already buried. But the thing is that your area is capable of having these things. The important thing is that one, okay, the high range area or the sky island or the solar for grassland, whatever you call it, that area has got the potential of having different kind of speciation that can happen. Okay, it may not be there in many other areas. See, you have relict vegetation in the coastal area. See, Myristica swamps, for example. There are many sacred groves which are having Myristica swamps, which is having Myristica fatwa and all the species, whatever we see in our Shangili Myristica swamps. But those kind of things are not, I have seen the best Myristica swamp in a sacred grove is Pungot near Matan. This is one of the largest cave in North Malabar. Okay, so this vegetation there, such kind of a speciation or nothing is not happening to that level. But here, what is happening is that over a period of time, okay, either it is 25,000 years or 50,000 years or 5,000 years, and you are able to see that a change in the floristic composition is happening with respect to the change in the vegetation. That is two element only. the bioclimate we consider largely two. One is the temperature, other is the rainfall. And bioclimate is also another word which is brought by Meronchi. Okay. And he is the only person who brought out a bioclimatic map for the country. Okay. No other people so far looked into the relation between vegetation as well as with the climate. So that is how the bioclimatic map. I just bring in one slide on that one. Okay. So this is, I mean, what I mean to say is that this solar grassland ecosystem is something very, it's a trad basically. Okay, it's not like any other, I mean, formations that we are having in the Western Ghats, but it's a formation which can, I mean, have a lot of rotation or lot of changes which can brought into the vegetation, and but still it is intact to that level. So that's a uniqueness, and that's why we call it as a unique habitat, and to that extent. So this is what are happening to this is actually the interpretation of the Kundala study. In the yeah, sorry. Yeah. So the paleontological footprints of Kerala flora that I already indicated certain things. I mean, in the earlier slide, something around 135 species, 75 species, and 35 genera. They looked at it. And the literature, I mean, I got it from the Verma and Singh, which is a review literature only. And they have compiled all the, I mean, information which is available. I looked at the, I mean, the paleontological studies and the fossil studies as well, not only the pollen grain, but the other fossil studies as well. I looked into that. So the information has been, I mean, largely associated with, as I mentioned, the Varkale formation as well as the Koilan formation. These are the two formations which has got a good deposit of the species which I listed out, I mean, or mentioned earlier. So the analysis of these rock beds revealed exceptionally rich assemblage of fungal. As I already mentioned, that it is not only the angiosperm, it's not only the flowering plants, it has got all the taxa group, starting from the fungal as well as the pteridophytes and gymnosperms and other, I mean, these are the three major taxa, which is, I mean, contributing to the, I mean, archival flora of the state or the region. Yeah, this is some example only. I mean, you can see that even the lycopodium, which is a, I mean, pteridophyte. Okay, the lower group of pteridophyte, I mean, which is on epiphytic, and the evolved group of, I mean, pteridophyte, that is a pteris, and lygodium, which is again a well advanced group of, I mean, pteridophyte. Lygodium is something which I mean, people from Malabar use while they have the puteri, okay, for tying around the neck of the, I mean, vessel which is cooking the new rice. Okay, so lygodium, then the thalamus. Okay, so what I mean, sorry. Yeah. So I mean, it has got the calamus, then Naipa, which is the palm in the mangrove region. I mean, basically in the Sundarbans, so that's Naipa, and islets, which is there in the mountain tops. Okay, in the Shola grassland, which is the one of the major tree species in the Shola grassland. So what I mean to say is that it's not from the mangrove to the peak of the, I mean, Western Ghats mountain or the high peaks, the species has been documented in the Wakala as well as the Koiron formations and the fossil as well as the pollen grain, which is a fossil pollen grain they collected to could get the example of, I mean, all these species. So it is well demonstrated that we have a long history of the flora and that has been gone out but from the current scene, but still you can still, I mean, proud of it that okay, we were having all these in our, I mean, land mass. Yeah, now this on the cyclic or the kind of looping, I mean, uh, looping movement or looping dynamics of the two, I mean, the solar grassland complex. I mean, if you have the, I mean, the wet season is more, I mean, if it is a wet season and you have the advancement of the solar and you have the dry, then it is the grassland. And it's always coming intermittent. The post-glacial, it is that what happened. And during the post-glacial period, and this had happened and it is keep happening. And that has been demonstrated by various, palynological studies by the geologist. Okay, so whatever be the situation, it is still showing its own character. Okay, there's not much change which is happening now. The overall, the physics or the overall architect of this solar grassland formation. There is no much variation which is happening. It may happen some time. It may be extending to. If it is too wet period, it may be extending it. But otherwise, the overall scenario is, maintaining in the an equilibrium is being maintained between these, two ecosystems. And this is another interesting study. You see that the Shola grassland formation here, and you can see that the boundary between the grassland and the Shola is very sharp. Okay, so it is just like that. You put a scale and then draw the line with a pencil. Okay, that's strong it is. And this is always a question. This is always a mystery for the biologists, ecologists, and everybody who are interested on these formations. And there were a lot of studies. By why such kind of an equilibrium is maintained between Shola as well as the grassland. And one study which is done by Merongji, I couldn't get that paper. The Merongji, what he did is, he has placed, yeah, he has placed, thermometer, okay, series of thermometer, and he every 1 hour he go and measure it. What is the temperature? What is the temperature? Okay, meticulously done it. And so that's how the bioclimate, the person who worked on bioclimate, okay, definitely will take that much of effort and other thing. And people who knew, who had known Mayorongji knows that, how much effort he does it. And every 1 hour he measures the temperature. And what he found is that and this is happening in the winter night. And during the winter, they take the minimum temperature, and on a particular day, the temperature drops to 4 to 5 degree compared to the Shola. So the thermometer starts from Shola and ends up in the grassland. On either side, some 10 meter or 5 meter. I don't remember exactly how much it is. Okay, and then he measured all the thermometers, and he found that the thermometer, which is kept in the grassland area, the temperature is going down around 4 to 5 degrees Celsius, and that 4 to 5 degrees Celsius is enough to solidify the cytoplasm in the cell. When the cytoplasm solidifies, it enlarges and the cell breaks out, which we call frostbite. Okay, the same experiment Mahesh Shankaran and Joshi and Jayashree has done. Almost the same experiment. This is recently. What they did, they took the Syzygium grande seed and they took acacia seed also, and they planted it. Okay, and they had all the experiments set in the Nilgiris, and they did the measurement, and they found that this in the grassland, they also measured the temperature, and this I will explain it. So in 200 days, 200 odd days of observation, the seedling of Syzygium grande, which is planted in the this one, has been died, but what is planted in the Shola, survival percentage is something around 70. So the Syzygium grande is an native species which is planted in the grassland and in the sholas and in the ecotones, and they found that the survival percentage of this particular species in the shola is almost 70%, and the grassland is dying. So what they found is, this is what they found. See, in the grassland, the temperature is dripping on a particular day in December, in the first week of January. The temperature is dripping almost -3 or something like that. You can read out that. And the difference is that from the ecotone, it is around 4 degrees Celsius difference. And from the shola, the difference is something around 5 to 8 degrees Celsius. This 8 degrees Celsius between the shola and the grassland is bringing the same result which Meromji has got. And the ecotone also, there is a change in the temperature, which is around 40 degrees Celsius. So this freezing temperature and the frost. So there are two factors. Earlier we used to say the fire and the frost. It's not the fire and frost. There is no fire here. There is an internal fire which is bursting the cell, we could say, if you want to say fire. But this freezing temperature is actually doing the, or the reason why the shola and the grassland is keeping the boundary like this. And that has been, I tried to do this experiment, but not with I was not successful because I couldn't continue. I did it only for 6 months. Later on, I couldn't continue that one. But 6 months, I could see the seedling grown up to 5 centimeter of ICG only. But then later on, I couldn't continue. Okay, so that's what happened. So here, this kind of orthothermic diagram, which is they are always taken for a larger period. About 30 years of data they collected, and every month average, mean they take, and this mean of all the 20 years or 30 years. Okay, so that's how the a good thermic diagram will be generated, and that would be used for describing the vegetation history. It's not for 1 year data. It is a period of 20, 30 years of such a temperature, or if you get it for 100 years, it is even better, and takes and generate this one and find out which is the dry spell, which is the wet spell, wet season, and which is the dry area and other thing. And that has been, giving much insight into the, survival of the species, or the change, what can happen to the vegetation and other things. So what ultimately, what I wanted to, stress upon here is that, solar grassland ecosystem, which is a very unique, it has got, whatever changes happen, it has got a large recouping capacity to have its own species assemblage, and that is very different from any other vegetation which is in the lower reaches of the Western Ghats. So this is, an asset as far as the flora, not only for the flora, associated fauna as well. So that way, this has to be considered for our, conserving the ecological wealth. Just move it. Okay, this is just, I wanted to, tell you that some of the species, which are common to the other phytogeographic region of the grassland. This is only of the grassland, not shola. Okay, so grassland itself is having many species which are common with the other phytogeographic zones of the country. Okay, Western Himalaya, then Eastern Ghats, then Northeastern Himalaya, Patnas of Sri Lanka, and the Pleistocene element also, which is found in the phytogeographic area. So this, this is actually a follow-up of the, or this is a continuation of what had happened in the earlier, tectonic movement, as well as the other migration from the Indo-Malayan as well as from the Sino-Himalayan region. Yeah, so earlier to sum up these three major events, the two physical geographical event and the other the climate related events, which has brought this kind of the, changes into the evolutionary status to the vegetation of this area. That is phylogenetic relics and high evolutionary stability, pre-Himalayan of the pre-Himalayan origin. It's the pre-Himalayan means the Gondwana species, and in the Indo-Malayan, and the new endemics has been evolved with the interaction with the other flora as the phylogenetic plasticity, and then widespread of the species like that. We have the Hopia or Nitrocarpus or bacteria and other thing everywhere, and the highly discontinuous distribution of certain species. And the Pleistocene, it has brought into geographical relics and standard after glacial retreat, highly fragmented, that is into the, solar grassland. I'll go through some more, a few more. Okay, please bear with me. This is another thing which I wanted to, bring upon here. The isolation which has happened in the lost connectivity or the isolation of the species, or how the new species get isolated and they got into a very narrow endemism is happening. This I wanted to take it to the example of Bendingia contapena. So Bendingia is in the mainland we have only one species. bending here. Okay, I mean, overall only two species. One is in Nicobar, and other in the mainland we have the Contapena. So the Contapena is something which is the Coryphoidae. Coryphoidae is a group which has been present in the Indo-Malayan region largely, and they have been moved from the northeastern or the Bay of Bengal corridor that has been brought into the Western Ghats, and or whether the whole forest was covered in the same tract, ancient wide reach tract it was. Okay, that is the post Miocene period. And can you? Okay, sorry, previous. Okay, yeah. So this the connectivity lost has been, I mean, from a common ancestor, Bendikia is a very beautiful palm which has got a very bright red colored fruit and then highly branched, I mean, inflorescence and other thing, and very narrow. And we have it only in the peninsular region, peninsular tip, that is in the Gudrikil to the, I mean, Kalakad and some part of Kanyakumari district as well. It has been distributed. That's it. Distribution map is showing it. Okay, so it has been brought to the, I mean, all these. This species, which is, I mean, once upon a time, maybe the bridge, the would have been what it was, I mean, between the Indo-Malayan region as well as with the peninsular region, either through the, I mean, Garo Gap or through the West, I mean, Bay of Bengal region, which is still not, I mean, proved to that extent. But the species has been somehow has, I mean, isolated from the rest of the area. And this is a species which is not a high altitude species. It's a medium elevation species, which is, but at the same time preferred as the rocky habitat or the slopes which are very rocky, like our Ponnambalamide, the lower slopes or western slopes of Ponnambalamide is the place where I have seen the good population of this one. Okay, so such kind of an area, the bending here was I mean, distributed. So it is highly an isolated differentiation. I mean, only one species, and the chromosome is, I mean, compared to the chromosome of, I mean, Bendikia nicobarica, it is 32, here it is 30. So it's a completely different isolation that had happened over a long period of time, and there is no change. There is nobody to interact with, only Bendikia, Contapena, that's all. Nobody else is there. So such an isolation had happened, a long lineage with no nearby species, and in the even in the intermediate range, because it is thousands of kilometers far out, and that is also now separated by water body. Okay, so there is no way that the species has a chance to move from the current narrow endemic point of the southern tip of the peninsula. I would say southern tip of the peninsula, that is from the Varshanad Hills, I mean the southern part of the Varshanad Hills to the Ashambu Hills, I would say. So that's it. Yeah. So that's a part where it has been distributed, this particular species. So this species has, I mean, I mean, I don't know how much we have looked into the species and the now the status of the species as into the vulnerable. IUCN has brought into vulnerable, and the habitat of this medium elevation forest normally in Kerala is largely converted into different kind of plantations. Okay, I mean that is the most preferable, I mean, habitat or the elevation for the plantation. And the bending here, many of these area, even the Achangovil area, there is a population, and but there is an abandoned tea estate and other thing there. And now there is a road also which has been, I mean, proposed through that area. Kalturiti, that I mean, that area, no, where the pillar, this one is there. So that area, it is, I mean, there is lot of, I mean, threat is actually happening to such an isolated species, which is very, very unique to the, I mean, state, or very, very unique to the southern Western Ghats. So the species, which is very old, or it has been originated, or it has a very long lineage of, I mean, origin, and that has been survived only in a very small pocket, but it is having all kinds of threats which is focusing, I mean, facing, and that the species is now into the vulnerable status. So there is fragmented population. Even the current population is fragmented only. They are not very contiguous. Okay, so there is a lot of barrier in between, and other kind of habitat loss, and whatever normal issues are there for any species, which is, I mean, there for this species as well. So that is the isolation. Yeah. Now I just want to, so this is what the normal climax forest and other inclemency theory, unidirectional single line it moves always. But with Anthropocene, we are having all this discussion in the period of Anthropocene. What happened into the Anthropocene and when there are stochastic events? So in the Anthropocene, when you have the stochastic events and other thing, the climax will be in multi-directional. So there are various kinds of forces. It can be, grazing, or it can be fire, it can be plantations, or it can be flood, or it can be landslide, or many such kind of things can happen. And such stochastic events can change the regular or the classical way of, I mean, climax community to a subclimax community, and that will be going to be permanent also. That's another thing. Even if there is a big gap created in a forest area by a tree fall, even there you can see that there is a subclimax community which has been almost arrested. It is not like that. We couldn't see much changes which is happening to such kind of scenario as well. So what is happening to, this is what in the current context, we cannot expect this will happen because these are working on it. So as a result of this, the landscape is getting into various mosaics. Sorry. Yeah, the landscape is, if you look at the whole history of the climate and the other geological events and everything, the landscape is, converting into from such an ideal kind of a scenario into, these two are, matching because they are, complementary in a way that because it's climate, shifting on it. It is not by human in a way, but when the human comes into the picture and it is coming into the landscape of this sort of, this is what the current landscape of the Western Ghats, what we are talking now today. Okay, so the southern Western Ghat also, it has reached to a stage like this because of the Anthropocene. And what happens is that even in this Anthropocene mosaic, there are patches here and there. But how much are we actually looking into the conservation of the entire patch of that one? So that is a place where we need to look at, go from the earlier kind of the fortress kind of conservation, which is not there now because the department and everybody is now shifting over to the landscape level of conservation and management, which is, I would say that last 10, 15 years, the discussions were there, but now it is more strong actually. It is, it's going into a kind of an implementation level, I would say, in at least in when they call it the tiger conservation plan and other things, somewhat, a landscape level, a kind of a larger, area, I would say, geographical area. I won't say that it's a true landscape, but it's going into that kind of a stage. So what I mean to say is that, rather than the focusing on the fortress kind of, or the small patches of it, or in Anthropocene, if someone wants to, conserve the whole gamut of the richness of the flora or the fauna or the elements what you had or have. Okay. And the only way is that it has to be in a whole landscape which can encompass the entire, stream or entire series of the, our riches that is represented as plants from the non-flowering to the flowering, as well as the fauna, as well as the other associated values and other things. So this is what which is actually required for the moment, and definitely I hope that a little bit of information on what we had and what we lost would help in formulating or focusing or at least discussing, generating a discussion for developing this kind of an approach or strategy for the better future. So that's what I think. Yeah, that's what I would like to share with you. Thank you very much for listening and patient. I don't know, how patiently or impatiently. Anyway, it was a good, experience for me. To talk about something like this and as part of this series. And you see, when we are, looking at flora or anything like that, or any such kind of a topic, there will be a lot of limitations as well. I mean, the availability of many of the literature and other thing could be one of the thing. Of course, now the internet and other thing which support us and things like that. But also this some of the things verification of the document and other thing will be a big issue even now. Not like earlier. I mean, even I found that the best document for preparing this one was Mani's Biogeography is the best document compared to many other which one I got, except some of the palynological recent work. So what I would say is that I mean it is for me giving this opportunity has given me a lot of opportunity to go through the browse through the literature, and that's a plus point for me. I don't know how much I transfer to you. I mean that's a different issue, but for me as a person benefited a lot by giving this opportunity, and thank you all for this moment.
Well, you are saying that spreading of grasslands are being produced now.
It's a climate.
Yeah.
It's a largely climate. The climate. It's a climate which is a factor for the spreading of the grassland or the soil. It's not the human. Human, I mean, it's if you say, I mean, human is not precisely saying no. Though even Bairamji also said, I mean, it's not the fire is not the only reason for the grass. There are a lot of theories on the the grassland soil complex, starting from Bohr, Blasco, and many other Ranganathan and other things. So where the Bairamji has made a very categorical statement, he doesn't believe that fire and grazing is the only reason for the grassland which is maintaining like this. So there is a climate is a major role to play on it. So I still hold on that. Conclusion is, I mean, there is nothing, it is a dynamic world. I mean, the habitat is dynamic. Only thing is that our window of observation is very small. If you have a long window of observation, that is millions of years, which a human cannot do. Okay, then you will get an answer. Our observation is, I mean, very, very limited. Everything depends upon the scale of it. Okay, any measurement or any result depends upon what scale you are looking at it. Here, even a PhD work is only for 2 years or 3 years, not beyond that one. Okay, whatever possible they will do, and they will do experiment. They create this scenario and do the experiment and things like that, and bring out the information. But still, it has got a limitation. So this formation, shola or grassland, it is brother and sister, or it is two sides of a coin that may change, which is here hot, which is cold. So according. Climatic climax, it is a climatic climax because it's evolved with the climate. That way, if you say, that's what I said, this is not a unidirectional now. Okay. You cannot say in that one. See, in the Anthropocene, the climate has changed. See, you have changed the climate, global warming is there, carbon dioxide, everything has been changed, and the level of carbon dioxide is high. Okay, everything has been changed. So that way, if you look at it, it is human. It's a dynamic. That's the idea of having landscape level management itself is because to accommodate the dynamic nature of the habitat. So the any habitat is always changing. We are not knowing that because a bird is coming, dropping a seed, it is generating. Regeneration is happening. Okay, after some time it will become a tree. If you watch that seedling, then only you will know that okay, it is becoming a tree. So there is a change is happening. Dynamics. Any habitat is dynamic for that matter. So when you take a landscape, what will happen is that you will encompass the dynamic nature of the landscape and that put into the perspective of conservation or management. So that's the whole purpose of shifting from horticology to the landscape ecology sector. Side of management. The whole idea behind that to accommodate the dynamic nature of the continuum. They can withstand. They can withstand the temperature. They can withstand. Because even if I mean, it's one thing is that temperature is the issue for establishing a seedling. Okay, once it is established, then it will stay. Okay, and the eucalyptus and other thing has the capacity to, I mean, withstand that. This is a natural process where it is not happening. It is not working with the temperature, freezing temperature, and the frost. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Karunakaran. Normally, I don't come out and speak on many occasions, but today I thought it's an occasion for me to speak because it's Dr. Karunakaran. I think 1999, both of us started our careers together. He was in French Institute assisted project in KFP, that is Kerala Forestry Project. I think most of you may not be aware of such a project in our department. It was there almost a quarter of a century back. So he was a young scientist, I was a young DFO, associating ourselves together. I still remember exactly that grassland we visited. It was, even today it's there. I was in IMB, that is IM Bengaluru, I was doing a PG diploma there, or supposedly going to get a seat in IMB for doing a PG diploma. അവിടുത്തെ പ്രൊഫസർ എന്നോട് ചോദിച്ച ഒരു ചോദ്യം, I was DFO പാലക്കാട് then അദ്ദേഹം എന്നോട് ചോദിച്ചത്, അവൻ you are DFO in Palakkad. What is because management always measures your performance through what? Indicators. That day I was in Kerala Digital University, the professor, the vice chancellor is also a management man. We were doing so many things. You see, after all our discussions, they will segregate the entire problem into 2-3 questions and then they will give a solution. So that way the professor was asking me, you are DFO Palakkad. How will you analyze your tenure in Palakkad as a success or failure after 3 years? This was the question given to me. So I told him a simple answer. Sir, I have taken charge 2 years back. I'll be handing over charge 1 year later. As I had been taking over Dhoni or Palap and Puliambulli, the same way I have to hand it over to my successor. And that is the success of me being there as a DFO. Itra maatrana njangalude aim as a DFO എന്നാണ് ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞത്. Similarly, that grassland which both of us visited in 1999, I had an occasion to go through a couple of weeks or maybe 3 weeks back. Friends, to the credit of Forest Department and to the managers and administrators of this department, that area is still the same pristine area which we saw way back in 1919, and I can assure you, Mr. Karunakaran. So that is the impact of Forest Department of Kerala, which I have seen over a couple of, I should say, almost 3 decades back. We are putting a lot of, I should say, hard work, which at many occasions doesn't get or doesn't attract the, attention of the society in Kerala in general and at the national level at large. While you are making this lecture, I am now holding PCCF protection. I am PCCF protection of Kerala. So all the protection issues of Kerala come under my ambit. During this course of 1 year, 1 hour or so, I had 5 cases which were coming in front of me. I was going through the affidavit simultaneously, though I was putting 1 ear this side, the other, my eye and ear were another couple of cases. I was recollecting my Wildlife Institute of India days where, of course, he was also there. And after that, he was in SACON, our SACON days also. There is a sea of difference between the management aspects and the scientific aspects. You have told us all the beauties, niceties of having such a beautiful ecosystem called the Shola, the Midland forests of Kerala, and all those niceties you told me. But my problem, existential problem for the forest officers is to conserve this well. How to conserve this ecosystem, how to conserve this well, how to protect these forests. We may not be knowing all these niceties of a Shola forest or all the things which are being protected in that ecosystem, but the existential problem of the forests of Kerala are totally different today. We are into so many problems, so many pressures, and we are being put into a lot of these sorts of, I should say, anthropogenic interceptions. So we have to strike a balance between these two. There we require the support of people like you who have the technical knowledge of all these issues. We'll call you before the Honorable High Court of Kerala or before the Honorable Supreme Court of India, wherever we have to fight such critical cases wherein the ecosystem is threatened. We require the support of people like you who can conjoin with the forest officials and give the support so that we are combinedly able to protect this wealth. Not for all of us sitting here or listening to this or anything, for posterity and for the next generation of, our humankind and for the citizens of this country and the world. Thank you very much.
അധികമൊന്നും പറയല്ല, അതിഗംഭീരമായ ഒരു ക്ലാസ്സാണ് നമുക്ക് കിട്ടിയിരിക്കുന്നത്. അത് ബോട്ടണി ആയതുകൊണ്ട് തന്നെ എത്രത്തോളം ഉള്ളിലേക്ക് കയറിയെന്ന് എനിക്ക് പറയാൻ പറ്റില്ല എല്ലാവർക്കും. പക്ഷേ പഴമയിൽ നിന്ന് നിൽക്കുന്ന ഇതിലേക്ക് നമുക്ക് എത്തിച്ചെന്നു. അതുകൊണ്ട് ഡിപ്പാർട്ട്മെന്റിന്റെ എല്ലാ നന്ദിയും സാറിന് നേരുന്നു. ഇനി ആർക്കും ഒന്നും പറയാനില്ലെന്ന് പറഞ്ഞുകൊണ്ട് നമുക്കിവിടെ വെച്ച് നിർത്താം. ഇത് നമ്മുടെ 5ാമത്തെ ക്ലാസ്സാണ്. അടുത്ത ക്ലാസ്സിൽ നമുക്ക് വീണ്ടും സന്ധിക്കും. താങ്ക് യു വെരി മച്ച്.